Oh guys, I'm already not used to this. Jeez, how many racing game series did Microsoft kill throughout their lives? Should I add this one to the pile? Until Forza came into the picture, well, either Forza 2 or the first Horizon really, the Xbox line wasn't well known for their exclusive racers, especially for the original behemoth. They have them, sure, from the likes of Porsche Gotham Racing and Midtown Madness, but they weren't as popular as the juggernauts from the likes of Gran Turismo and, well, Mario Kart. They never left their obscure yet cult classic status, not even the last two PGRs for the 360. That is to say that they should be dismissed. I just said they were cult classics. Maybe except for that Volvo game, that definitely should be dismissed. But for the rest, I think they're more interesting. PGR is obvious, but there's also Midtown Madness 3, a solid follow-up to Chi-Town, Frisco, and London Adventures of the first two, despite being Xbox exclusive unlike those. And unlike those, it's also not developed by Angel Studios, as they were bought by Rockstar months before release, but by a bunch of Swedes that we'll talk about later. If not Microsoft's offerings, why not some more exclusives from other publishers? Sega GT 2002 and Online are decent GT clones. Yankees Maximum Chase exists too, and so is Chase. Stuntman this ain't. Okay, there are a bit more duds than hits from other players, so instead of wasting my time with them, let's go back to those Swedes. DICE. They're known for many— FUCK! We're not doing that again! There was a time when DICE wasn't just making tactical shooters all day every day, they used to make all sorts of other more interesting shit, like pinball and Shrek. Also racing games. Sophie reviewed two of them, NASCAR Heat and Motorhead, at least their PS1 versions. The latter may be a cult classic, but she didn't enjoy it. The controls were strange, where you have to use both sticks to drive instead of the usual X and left stick. Even then, the gameplay just wasn't that fun. It's whatever, but at least there's a 60 FPS option. However, instead of doing the most sensible thing and reviewed the PC version, no, not the one that was on C, which was actually the Emulator PS1 version, thank the gods that's still listed. I'd rather cover one of their Rallisport challenge games, specifically the second and last of the duology. Ooh, it's part of Xbox's really short-lived sports line, with this also being the last before just abandoning it entirely. Unlike the first game, which was also available for the PC, this one is unfortunately both original Xbox exclusive and not compatible with its later consoles. I mean, I could just buy that console, but the only problem is, what the fuck would I put that thing? So I hope you don't mind me just emulate it. I mean, the Xbox is just a glorified PC anyway, Pentium-free processor and all that. What's the harm on that? Pray I can talk about it in one piece though, but I know what you're saying. Pinkie, why are you reviewing a Microsoft game? Aren't they contributing to the genocide in the Middle East? Why are you crossing the picket line like that? Trust me, I doubt Microsoft cares in the slightest if I review this thing. I don't think they even remember it existing in the first place. So be calm, like my tits here, and enjoy me rambling on about an old rally game on the Xbox. Sup? Let me preface by talking about the Xbox's system menu for a bit. I'm sure some of y'all love this, but I don't. I'm biased, of course, but the PS2 menu is more soothing than this. This one just gives me dread, thanks to the foreboding ambience, the mechanical alien sounds for when you select something, and the occasional noise whenever you idle in the main menu. Not for me. Anyway, start it up, and get this intro, which is replay footage set to a music track by Anomaly Music. It's actually great. I always found the racing games that do that sort of thing. Though it also tells you the Xbox can do online multiplayer, which, okay, but it kinda ruins the flow. It's no quick fix, but I can take it. Time to create a profile. I already have one to test it out, but I like to start fresh and with a different name. How about...
Let's talk more action!
It's an alternate universe where he's a rally driver instead of an IndyCar racer, and nothing terrible happened to him. I don't know why I'm caring about VF lore now, but here we are. Much like the previous game and, well, almost every race in the last 30 or so years, if you want to get all the cars and tracks, you have to win races in career mode. However, there's free you can partake, and it changes as you go, corresponding a difficulty level. You can just start the champion career right off the bat if you like. Much like in NFS Hot Pursuit 2, the career is structured like a family tree. A really fucked up family tree with loads of incest. The Lemon Cat's career mode we got here. But yeah, you finish an event, and earn points as you go, with some of it requiring you to have a set amount to participate as well. Pretty simple, yet with a diverse amount of races. And winning enough in all 3 trees lets you partake in a super rally, which is just a darn straight. But we'll just begin our career at the amateur segment before I head there. And we start with a rally event. I mean, it's the only one that's available here, no excuses. Boy, am I glad I have a good enough computer and a well-updated emulator to run this thing with flying colors. Sure, it's not upscale, but even then, I'm relieved that it runs so smoothly. The only times it slowed down or hitched was during bits where the emulator has to catch something after loading for the first time, or doing multi-car races. Also, the car's library goes away during replays in multi-car events, but they're not much of a nuisance to me. Hell, I even managed to finish the amateur career without any crashes or freezes. It's amazing how much Xemu improved so quickly since I tested it a year or so ago. Now to wait for it to run Forza 1, the PGR games, and Sega GTO 2 as good as well. For the graphics, they look fine for a 2004 game, runs well too, playing at 60 FPS, at least doing gameplay. On replays, it is limited to about 30, much like the PS3 Gran Turismo games. A bit of a shame, but what can I do? Anyways, the scenery looks great. I really love how colorful these places look. My favorite of them has to be the outskirts of Monaco. It has a good mix of seaside roads and mountainous paths that can make for such picturesque drives. Though I really found that place off the distance with just some badly rendered ancient ruins, but on closer inspection, it's most likely the Principality. If it were ancient, it would have been goofy to make really tall columns. Now, if only I could see what's ahead of me during rainy days or nighttime. Yeah, since I'm playing this at its original resolution, it's really hard to see what's coming during set times. Despite looking bright on the night races in X-Band Rally Extreme, I still can't see shit. Plus, the game sometimes gives me pure white sprites for rain. It's most likely an emulation issue, but I can't help but be a 14-year-old and just call this cum rain. Either way, it's irritating. The fog is even worse. I keep expecting an air screamer showing up when I drive through it. Also, the rather short draw distance for objects made me miss the sharp turn in a few UK stages. The car models are a mixed bag. Some look really well modeled, while others look rather off, at least to me. I hate the blob-eye pretzel as it is, but the car here looks even worse. The bottom grill is way bigger than it should. Though even if the model was perfectly replicated, I'm still marking it as a sinner. Avast, heathen! Come to think of it, why do I keep pronouncing Subaru like Americans do instead of being a total weeb? You know what, to piss people off even further, I'm just gonna pronounce it as Subaru, like the Japanese would. Even the American NAS for Subaru 360 pronounce it as such.
It doesn't cost much to keep a little Subaru, even if something does go wrong, which isn't very likely. A little Subaru goes a long way to make you happy. Just give it a little love, a little care, and a little gas.
The little Subaru, wow.
There's 5 cameras to choose from, including 2 chase cams and a cockpit view, which thankfully doesn't focus too much on the steering wheel, just a good view from the windshield, and that's a lot. I love it, reminds me of the Colin McRae games of this era. I still use bumper or horde cam if I'm playing these casually, or one of the chase cams if I'm making a video, because I really like seeing the cars back. I do like the menus too, simple yet good looking, very horizontal in the selection style. Though I don't like how the background in the main menus get yellower whenever you're in a new license. I'm more inclined with the blue right after you make a profile. I also like that you can set up your car or whatever else while the game loads the stage, very much what the PS3 GT games allow you to, very nice. The HUD is simple and not as flashy as the first game, but effective as well. At least the boxes are dark gray and transparent to prevent another Grid 2 malarkey. For sound is a bit underwhelming. I say so because the cars, while they sound like rally cars, and I'm sure that they record the cars' engines or at least try replicating them as best they could, some just aren't as good as the real deal. It doesn't matter for a casual ear, but I'm a bit of a stickler for engine noises. You know how much I shudder when I hear the Miata sound in the first 4 GT games. Thankfully, this game has better engine noise than them, but still disappointing. The Sport Quattro has a unique and eccentric sound in real life, almost as if the car was submerged or something, and the game tries to replicate it, but it just doesn't do the noise justice.
5 left. Long 4 right.
At least it didn't overdo it like WRC Rally Evolved and our Rally did. The Delta S4 at least sounds good enough in my ears, but the 205 Turbo 16 sounds a bit muffled. At least when you lift the gas pedal off, it makes a funny sound. I'm sure the real car doesn't do that, but still. Actually, every engine sounds rather muffled. No wonder I was underwhelmed. I do like the turbo sounds though. The blow off from a few cars even sound like birds chirping.
Opens. Into long 2 right. Tightens. Into 2 left.
I hope there isn't a nest under the hood. The menu sounds are... whatever. RSC1 sounds more memorable than this. But the Rallycross, ice racing, and crossover venues have commentaries during your races, speaking into their country's tongues, and accents too.
Drivers anxiously await the go sign. Welcome to the side pit, everyone. Les pilotes sont prêts à se lancer.
It shouldn't matter, but it's the details I like. Shame there's no spoiler like in the first game. The co-driver is an American guy instead of a British one this time. Or is he a Canadian guy instead of an Australian one? I don't know really. What I know is that by default, he uses the easy to hard style of pace notes, but you can switch to the advanced one where, very unusually, it's like the one in the first 4 PS2 WRC games where 1 is the easiest, but the hardest corner is the number 9.
Into 9 left. Caution. Cliff.
I didn't know there were numbers higher than 6. Joking aside, this is a rare beast, and it goes to show that the numbers don't mean you have to change the standard gear. I just wish he was more consistent. Some corners I took were square corners that he called incorrectly, so-called hairpins that don't feel like hairpins at all, and a corner he missed in one of the Monaco stages.
Long 3 left. Onto tarmac. Tightens. Into 3 right.
For fuck's sake, man, pay attention! And there was a moment where you didn't tell me what sharpness the corner was tightened to, when it ended up being sharper than I anticipated.
Long 2 left. Tightens. Into square right. Don't cut. Into long 2 left. Tightens. Onto tarmac. Into long 1 right. Tightens.
I hate this guy so much, if I'm honest. He doesn't even tell me the distance between each note. At all! For music, you have this fine menu song, which you can't turn off even if you mute the music in the options menu. You will always have to hear that song. Always. There's also a licensed soundtrack for the races, but while they're all either electronic or industrial, which are really good genres on their own, I just don't think they fit well in at least rallying and hill climbing. Sure, they're from more known bands this time, like Cell Dweller, Pitch Shifter, and Maïs, but I much prefer the soundtrack in the first game. I also prefer complete sounds in my rally tracks, always better. But hey, you can add custom soundtracks like some Xbox games that allow such, that's nice. I just wish there was an easier way to do it for the emulator, because currently the way to do it is just so goddamn complicated for me. I have to use FTP and an actual Xbox to do it? Fuck that! I ain't wasting my money just to do that. Though at least I get to play PGR2 as I should. It may not be totally realistic, but ho ho how I love the handling in this game, either on tarmac or on loose surfaces with the appropriate tires for them, especially on dirt and snow. The cars love to slide around on them, and I freaking love it. However, if you race with not so appropriate tires, like tarmac wheels on a dirt path, it is gonna be difficult. So much oversteer with so little useful turning. Worse yet, it's also hard to slow down to take a corner at speed, so you most likely hit the trees with little to no turning whatsoever. I know I have. The Monaco stages love to throw those bits at me. Dirt tires on tarmac ain't that terrible at least. I don't lose much grip when I'm on them. I've played the whole game with an auto shifter, sacrilege I know, but apparently changing gears is much like in Forza, at least by default. B for upshifting and X for downshifting, For handbrake, you use A for it. I am so used to other races that use X and A for shifting and B for handbrake. I guess this must be an inspiration for turn 10 to use that scheme, but I got over it quickly, and it's really fun just drifting and taking U-turns regardless of which scheme you use. There is damage in both visual and mechanical, and you can even sever a wheel if you crash hard enough. But aside from that, even if I noticed the wheels had red or the engine a bit damaged, I didn't notice much difference in performance. No veering to any side or anything. The car just drives like it just left the first stage starts, no problems to worry about. Regardless if the damage model is underwhelming or not, I really love the driving here. But it's not perfect. I don't like how inconsistent our reset is. If you're even way off the track, or just fell from that corner cliff in the UK rally, the game doesn't reset you because it expects you to drive back to the intended path. If you're flipped, the game doesn't reset you because it expects you to flip it yourself, a la GTA 5. But the game does reset you if you cut a corner a bit too much. That's way more annoying. At the very least, you can reset it yourself using the white button. That's the left bumper to all my emulation peeps out there. You can just activate it at any speed, which is cool. And I only discovered it after I finished career mode, what the hell. And I'm glad I can flip the car back to the left stick, eases the pain a bit. Still, every time I get into these predications, I rather just restart the stage than to wait. One more thing, if you expect to get reset if you hit a spectator, don't worry. They're just ghosts in this game. No need to feel guilt over driving over them, because they're already dead. As this game has a career mode where you race against other races in either time attack stages or regular wheel-to-wheel races, I have to talk about the difficulty. It's not hard actually. Maybe I'm just too used to racing games, but unlike even WRC Rally involved, this game is very forgiving, even during the champion career. In the first two careers, you easily win with just the first group cars. I was wondering what the fuss was about it being that hard. I mean, sure, champion could be hard with group 1 cars, but once you have a group 2 car at your disposal, it's smooth sailing from there. Mostly. And then you have Super Rally, which is just a straight line that covers all the rally stages in the game. You're stuck with Group B cars and a normal Renault 5 Turbo for some reason, and you're not allowed to restart a singular stage. If you mess up hard, you have to do the event all over again. Holy shit, that's harsh. And the last few events force you to race stages that are double digit in length, with conditions that can break you a lot. Night stages, heavy rain, obstructing snowfall, the works. But even then, it's not very hard for me. I did have some restarts, wasting minutes of my life regetting it, but the opponents are still way more careful than me most of the time. Really, most of the mistakes I did just amount to human error. Now, racing with opponents next to you is a bit of a different story. You're up against cars racing at the same time after all, so no time trial shenanigans, just bumping and grinding when possible. Even then, they're just meh. I had some trouble with a few ice races, I'll get to that, but other than that, I can easily win these, so the mistakes are still human error on my part. Considering that this is a rally game, you expect some features typical for it, and you'd be correct. Your main objective is to get from point A to point B in the shortest time you can against a bunch of other dweebs. And if an event has multiple stages, the same logic applies. Whoever had the shortest time out of all the stages wins it. Thank the gods it's not determined by how many points during the event this time. You have your co-driver telling you the incoming corner is a sharpness as well as obstacles on the way. Really, it's all there. Well, not really. Unfortunately, you won't get to repair your car between stages, so expect it to be in pristine condition by the next. I mean, it saves me the trouble, but it also takes a bit of the challenge away. As if that matters, like I said, the damage models have back at best. But rallying isn't the only race type in the game, of course. You have hill climbing, which is just rallying without a co-driver. Need I say more? You drive faster cars there? It has its own track selection? I don't know. Next is Crossover, which is a super special stage duels where you do 2 different laps in a way. It's very much a rally stage, except for some reason there's no co-driver and the events for it take up multiple laps. For what purpose though? Padding? Man, therefore you only have to reserve the true multi-lap crossover races for the final event. And we have both Rallycross and Ice Racing, which are just the same. Regular close racing on closed circuits in multiple laps. No joker laps, thankfully. However, while it is simple to talk about it, there's just something deep about it. What I think about them is that they represent the yin and yang of rallycrossing. Regular one is set on dirt and tarmac tracks, which are very bearable to race on, very controllable, and the opponents are manageable. This one I like. Ice Racing, on the other hand, can go to hell for all I care. Too much sliding, opponents that don't give a shit about you, and you're gonna have a hard time winning. At least in the champion career, I had to restart the race multiple times to get a win I want. I hate this so much, I tried avoiding them as much as I possibly can. Maybe that's the difficulty people talk about. In career mode, the last 3 race types require you to qualify before you get to race. One-shot quali, like in the first Gran Turismo. Get it done, you'll end up in one of the groups. Though the one you should be at is the top A group. That's where the big points reside. However, unlike in the first game, points are only awarded after you finish the event, depending on the position, with first place giving you 20 points. So it works by normal racing rules really, though much like in RSC1, you have to earn points to progress, either that or in required events. But instead of a linear path, you're now in splitting branches that then merge to the last event. And instead of either winning specific events or earning points to unlock content, you now do that, finally doing the former. But regardless, they're not that hard to achieve them. No stuff that requires me to do challenges that are next to impossible for me, and I'm all for it. And the other changes this has, even if I have to force myself to race in events that I dread doing, including the ice races. And hey, don't get to drive the nameless races this time. Good, because I'm tired of racing that bitch-ass guy called Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6 to win. Now I have a new rival, P. Wong. No relation. There are 13 places to get to visit in career mode, 4 rallies with 12 stages each, 3 hills to climb with 6 each, 2 rallycross venues, 2 crossover venues, and, you're not gonna believe this, 2 ice racing venues. Whoa! In all seriousness, it's great that these places now take place in specific countries this time, instead of the VIC, Safari, Pacific, or Mediterranean rallies. Much like the Expand Rally games, all the stages take place in their own maps that look like I'd be free roaming on them. And as expected, there's gonna be a lot of repetition. Driving past the same places you just went to, the same roads, same towns, whatever. I don't mind though, they're a good learning experience at least. For the rally side, we start good with Australia. Despite being set in the desert, it's very diverse, with plains, forests, red sands, a farm to drive through, and a brewery on the side. It's a fast rally too, so if you miss Finland, this is a good replacement. It lacks the jumps, but there's a big hill for a big jump. Whoops. Then there's the forests of Great Britain, very green, but also very daunting, especially when you race at night or with heavy fog or rain. You'll be sandwiched between trees on these narrow roads, big jumps that can catch you off guard, and the town bits can be a nightmare to traverse. So it's typically Welsh, really. Some, if not most of the stages, are 50-50 on the surfaces, half tarmac, half dirt, and you'll be doing these stages with dirt tires. But like I said, they're not that harsh, it's the opposite that's more of a pain. Speaking of which, the Monte Carlo rally here is not the Monte Carlo I remember rallying on. Usually it's set in the French Alps on frozen asphalt during the winter, but in this game, it's just a Sunday drive during the Mediterranean summer. I actually quite like it though, especially when you drive through seaside towns. I still fucking hate these corners though. And Sweden is typical Sweden, driving through the snowing plains and villages in between. Shame there's no frozen lake segments, but the snowbanks here are rather forgivable. Glad I'm not playing Dirt Rally. We then move on to the hill climbing part, which is weirdly very American. Canada is a tarmac only locale where you drive up the mountain. While it is technical, it looks and feels a bit samey. The only standout parts are the bottom portions and the steep descent when you're climbing up to the top. Other than that, could have been better. The American West is thankfully more diverse with a 4 desert place. It reminds me of Utah from Dirt 2. Don't let the Mormons get ya. Fortunately, this one is way more memorable than that. Look, there's a dam you can drive on. Very nice looking and very challenging. I love it. And then you have Argentina, with a very muddy and gray ambience. It's also the hardest place to drive on. It's very twisty, very bumpy, and the mountain is so rocky that you encounter rocks on the sides. I hate this bit so much. If you dare yourself to do it at speed, you're less likely to avoid this wall of rocks. It's so frustrating. Plus, the full-length uphill and downhill layouts are set at night, with the latter having rain. This is the worst combination I've seen in this game. Holy fuck. There's also this bit that looks like I can cross by jumping over with enough speed. If it weren't for that checkpoint here, I'd actually intentionally try. The US Rallycross complex is dry when it's not raining, while the UK one is always very muddy, both providing some technical layouts with narrow paths and such. The ice race ones are rather wide, but also twisty, especially the Canadian one. You kinda get to drive on a frozen lake there, while the Swedish one reminds me a lot of Frost Ridge from RSC1, only it feels way more alive. There's a lot going on here, way more than in Canada. The crossover tracks are rather bumpy and twisty, with the Australian one being the most of both, while the Monaco ones are just too long for me. Not as long as the crossover station X-Men Rally Extreme, but still a poor to drive them. Doesn't help that the tracks take multiple laps to finish them. The car list has your typical roster rally cars at the time, and back then, Metro 6R4, my beloved. But there was a few standouts, like the 3 Series Compact as a rallycross car, and the Celica Twin Cam Turbo in the Group B category. It was probably the only game to have such, the license to be exact, unless a Zero Rally changes that. Plus a few subs, Volvos, and even the Ford GT70, a rare sight to see in games. While not as rare as that Celica, it still is, only show up again in Ford Racing 3 and the later Forza Horizon games. Look, this is Skoda Octavia here. Screw the Fabia, I guess. The hill climbers are a familiar bunch. There's the Peugeot, the Scudo, RD4, and all that. But also the Tacoma and the Celica here, which showed up in the first Dirt. And people say the Dirt franchise didn't take inspiration from this. Kinda wish it had a few that are more out there though. There was an offering for Skyline GTR in Rallisport 1. Wish that showed up again. Oh yeah, and there's a Blob by Pretzel too. I missed the bug guy, but there's the first gen one as a hill climber like in RSC1. Weirdly, the Ford Focus, having the WRC specs I believe, is based on the Air Force Reserve one. I don't know why there's US military propaganda in my rally game, but it's there. And I can't do much about it since all of its alternate skins use the same colors as the first one. Boring. Tangent, but I tried to search for images of said car, but DuckDuckGo just gives me mostly military shit. I had to use Google for it. Speaking of skins, each car has different color schemes, not different libraries, but alternate colors for it. Unfortunately, in order to unlock them, you have to drive them for certain distances, so if you don't want your Lancer to compete with the default Goshi colors, which is understandable since it has 6-7 as its number, you have to stick with them for a long while. That horse girl game is taking over my goddamn life, and I haven't played it for months. The last one's required to accumulate 400 kilometers for each car! Holy shit, and I thought WRC4 was grindy. I don't know, man. I get that you can just drive on a long rally or hill climb stage multiple times to achieve that mileage, but I don't think it's that fun. And that black and pink skin for the 22B requires me to do just that, and I hate it. Thankfully, if you install the DLC, you could just have them all unlocked by just doing your random stage in whatever mode you like, so long as you have the cars unlocked. Yes, there's DLC for the thing, with not just a skin pack, but also one that adds 2 more career brackets centering around hill climbing and multi-car races, and 4 new ones, 2 SUVs in the form of the Volkswagen Touareg and BMW X5, and 2 old Swedish ones, being the Volvo Amazon and a Saab 96. Now those are right up my alley, always fun to drive these 2 goobers. And also these 2, but I'd rather drive a Jimny, thanks. I'd like to talk about those DLC career paths for a bit, specifically one of them, because holy shit, the Mountain Challenge one is for some reason really hard. Unlike the base career ones where they're rather easy peasy, your opponents are as fast as, if not faster, than you this time. What? I'm being challenged? More often than not? This can't be! It doesn't help that half the events force you to race with Group 1 hill climbers. I don't have much choice. So you either have to be really skilled or really lucky to have a clean sweep. I think I found out what the real difficulty lies in this game. As for plot, shit, force of habit. After playing those 4 Need for Speed games before this, I forgot this game has no plot to speak of. My bad. Now what else can I talk about? Multiplayer? There's split screen, system link, and online via an Xbox Live. What else can I say? I'm pretty sure the first fight will crash the emulator if I try. I don't know how linking works with the darn emulator, and I also don't know if Insignia supports said fucking emulator. So all I gotta say is, they exist! Okay, there's also your typical time attack mode, as well as single races, where you race against 3 other drivers like Rallycross, even in the rally stages, much like in the first game. Always fun to see that. And the best part is that you're not limited to which car you drive, meaning you can drive a hill climbing car on an ice circuit, and vice versa. Seriously, the influences are there, people! So that was Rallisport Challenge 2, the final chapter. Like, actual final chapter, not what Friday the 13th and Five Nights at Freddy's tricked us. And what a way to go, by ending with a bang. Great gameplay, great selection of cars, pretty great career mode, and just overall some darn good fun. Not much else to say, other than I really wish they could have done more, and the co-driver was a lot better. But I'm still glad that Xemu can play this game nearly smoothly, managed to finish the game with no crashes, freezes, or anything terrible, other than human error, but still. And thank the gods this video ended up being much shorter than my last few reviews. Those took me forever to make, and I'm so happy to review this. I totally deserve this. Next time, the start of the Forza series downfall. So I heard. Kenneth? Sorry, I know I'm supposed to be professional since I'm on the job, but it's so nice to finally meet you again, and yet, it's just so weird at the same time. Are you eating alone? Maybe I'll take you on a date one day. Are you here for me?
No, you meathead. He's here for me.
As a former sex worker myself, maybe I should call you Matahari.
How unprofessional of you.
Gods, I wanna kiss your hateful face. But I'm on a job. Nice run on Emulator, by the way.
Thank you. The podium finishes have been helping our standings, but I hope to still win the season this year.
Yeah, well, don't get too carried away. So what will it be for you and your Kenny?
Don't ever call him that. Only I get to call him Kenny. He'll have the filet mignon, and I'll be having the lasagna.
Okay, and I'll meet you right back with the food.
So, Kenny, have you ever fucked a strong woman like her before?